everyone, this is David Stark from WatcherPass.com, your website for movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Today I've got my crowbar ready to break into an interview with Seth Savoy, the director and co-writer of the all-new film Echo Boomers. We're going to talk to Seth in just a second, but first, let's check out that trailer. And while you're watching, if you could like and subscribe to this channel, that'd be fantastic. It helps me out a lot. Thank you.
This is the end.
We'd rather be dead than submit to the system.
Hey, Seth.
Hey.
Got my crowbar ready to dig into this interview. So let's get going.
I love it, David. I love it.
Yeah.
How you doing, man? Where are you located?
I'm doing well. I'm in DC. What about you?
Oh, cool. I'm in the OC right now doing a movie, but I'm back in Chicago come Thursday for the premiere.
Doing a movie. Are you moving some people out of the OC? Are you?
Yeah. You're on to me. Shit.
That's awesome. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me. This is Seth Savoy. He's the director and co-writer of Echo Boomers. Comes out November 13th in theaters, digitally, and on demand. It's a really interesting film. So I guess, and this is your first feature, right? You've done shorts and things like that, but this is your first feature. So how was that process? And how was it like to get a film, a feature film made during quarantine and during COVID, or I guess maybe before?
It was pretty crazy, dude. I found the story kind of found me. It was 2013. I just graduated from Columbia College Chicago, and I had a ton of debt, and I realized that there's no shortage of filmmakers in the film community. And so I got to the finish line and didn't really know what I was going to do. And then kind of serendipitously enough, I started seeing these like Chicago headlines of these kids that were busting into these houses. And weirdly enough, I could like relate to their like angst and frustration. And I kind of took that and ran with it, and it became Echo.
So awesome. Okay, so I was actually going to ask about the true story aspects, because it says it's based on a true story, and then it kind of like hints at it, but it doesn't really seem to follow one specific gang, as far as I can tell. Maybe we just don't know. So were these stories about break-ins? Were people stealing stuff, or were they just kind of expressing their angst? And okay.
This was happening in Chicago in 2013, and I just kind of felt like, obviously it was happening, and I wanted to make a movie that represented this frustration that these kids were feeling. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't really want it to be based on one specific group that was real or any of that. It was more about encapsulating just this energy of, I feel like I'm getting screwed over and I need to fix it. And I think the film does a really good job of that. I feel like you can really feel it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I think I think it definitely projects that energy. I think it'll hit more home if you are feeling the kind of angst that you and it seems like an entire generation are feeling right now. So I think it's going to be a really interesting thing to see how it's taken, based on your generations and kind of how you relate to it.
I think it's going to be interesting to see these reviews come out and see what generation the critics are in, and which ones get positive and which ones get negative.
Exactly. It's almost like you need like an age of the critic to kind of figure out.
Yeah, which should be interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, the angst aside, the movie it's a really compelling film, in its own right. The story aside, like you got this really fantastic cast. Where'd you go about? I think my favorite thing was seeing Patrick Schwarzenegger, and I'm like, hey, he's not as buff as I kind of thought he would be. He looks like a regular, in shape guy. And Alex Pettyfer is awesome.
The casting process was interesting, man. We got Shannon first, and he's the one who kind of found, him and his team found the script, and we kind of like took a step back, and we were like, let's not just grab the well-known actors of today. Let's find like this new group of actors that's going to be like the next Michael Shannons, these ones that like people really look for because their performances are so great. And it took us 3 years to find those guys to so it took us way longer than we expected, but we knew that that's kind of what we had in our heads. And Patrick, you're right, like Patrick isn't as big and buff as you think he'd be. He's actually just like a regular, such a cool dude too. so he fits so perfectly. And you know, Gillis Geary, who plays Jack, he's absolutely incredible. I think he's someone that, you know, I'll use from every single movie from here on out. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point with Patrick. He does kind of feel like, you know, like an everyman, you know, kind of very attractive, you know, talented everyman, you know, kind of person. He kind of looks like, you know, you're what you would kind of expect a typical college grad who's kind of going through all of this to look like. And so it kind of lends a definite amount, you know, air of credibility to him and his performance.
Yeah, and we definitely had to, like, you know, give him kind of an uglier haircut. You know, Patrick is just like an unbelievably good looking dude. So we had to like pull it back a little bit, you know?
Yeah, like, you know, movie magic, right? Movie magic.
Yeah.
And Alex Pettyfer, is that?
Pettyfer? Yeah.
Pettyfer, yeah, he's I know I'd seen him before in you know, I think a love movie like 5 years ago, and I recognized him, and he's like another kind of perfect cast for this. He kind of fits the right age. He's a little more built, so it kind of makes sense that he's the leader. But yeah, I think your casting was just spot on. It did feel like a lot of young, you know, up and coming, energetic acting for this film.
Yeah,
So.
Alex was interesting too, because, you know, Alex used to kind of be in that like superstar world of, like, he did I Am Number 4, and then he did, you're right, some type of love movie. He was in Magic Mike. I mean, he's done some like pretty huge films, and I feel like he hasn't done much recently. So I was like so hyped when he came on, just because he really does have this X factor as an actor, that like when you call action, it's unpredictable what you're going to get in such a positive way. And so every time Alex came on set, it was like you just kind of left the day knowing that you got like gold in the can. So.
And you know, I guess one of the main draw, or, you know, one of the most compelling scenes in this film is the actual destruction scene. So, you know, what was it like filming those? I was kind of fascinated, because I expected all, you know, some sort of like cuts and things like that to like limit the destruction, but you guys went all out. Like some of these places seemed, you know, to get demolished. So what was it like filming that? How did you go about finding all this nice looking furniture that you could just destroy? You know, I'm very curious
Yeah,
about that.
you know, it was kind of fun, honestly. I mean,
I
like,
can imagine. Yeah, it must have been great for the cast to film, although you can't really
yeah,
redo it. So
yeah, exactly. So kind of how it started was, I'm a really, really big pusher for only shooting on set. I think that like shooting on set gives you a specific feel. You're not faking it. It's real. You're there. And the producers were like, Seth, what are you talking about? Like, we're going to have to buy you a whole mansion so you can destroy it. And then I was like, okay. So we shot just the destruction stuff on a stage. But it was interesting to, you know, we found all these props, and, you know, we looked absolutely everywhere in Salt Lake City, flipped it upside down to pretty much get all the stuff that we could. But it was interesting because each actor kind of approached the destruction aspect differently. And some of them really enjoyed it, and you could tell that they just kind of got lost in it. And like Jacob Alexander, you know, I'd be like, hey man, you know, how'd that feel? He'd be like, man, I blacked out. I don't even know what I did. While other people would do it, and then they'd just be like, oh, that felt so weird. It felt so wrong. So it was interesting that these actors could like actually feel like whether it was right or wrong. It was cool.
Yeah, and you kind of highlighted that in the film, just with the different ways that the characters would approach it based on kind of their backgrounds. I assume that was all kind of the writing, or did the actors themselves kind of
Yeah,
do things
that was the
differently?
writing. That was the writing. I kind of knew that you know, I didn't want these guys to just be these like ugly characters that you kind of can't relate to. And that kind of gave us that kind of window into their life of like, all right, what they're doing is bad, but like I can kind of relate to it, and I understand why. So
Yeah, no, that's I think definitely, especially for, you know, maybe the generation that doesn't fully relate to this on a, you know, emotional, personal level. It's really important to kind of establish that. So
right.
I appreciated that too, kind of seeing the different ways that they destroyed things. I can't
Yeah,
imagine like
I'm glad you enjoyed it, dude. We haven't shown a lot of people, so I'm hyped to hear that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think, you know, the energy in those destruction scenes is really, it really kind of gets to you. You know, you see just them just demolish these artifacts. It's really compelling to watch. I thought that was kind of, it kind of draws your attention to those specific scenes, which was, fun, a little unsettling, but that's kind of, I think that's part of the point of it. So
Right, exactly.
And another thing I really liked, those masks were really cool. Like, where did you, I assume they were
Dude,
custom
one of a
made, but-
kind. Yeah, one of a kind. Our costume designer, she actually took like black paintball masks and she sculpted them herself and then she painted on top of them.
Oh wow, okay.
And so they're like truly like I think we ended up getting 2 of every mask. But yeah, they're sweet, man. I'm sure somewhere in those contracts, like one of the distributors has the rights to those masks somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a perfect kind of Halloween theme. So it's kind of coming out around Halloween, so you got that aspect.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of a game I used to play called Payday, which has a similar feel.
Oh yeah.
Obviously. Yeah.
Totally. And one thing that we kind of wanted to I thought our distributors, Saban and Paramount, like one thing that they did that was so smart was putting it the week after the election. I thought that that definitely wasn't coincidental. That was definitely a strategy, which I thought was actually really smart.
Yeah, brave though, right? Like we didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
So we still kind of don't know. I guess we know, but who knows what the next few months will bring.
Yeah, of this reality show we call the United States.
And so the name Echo Boomers, when did you kind of come up with that? It's kind of mentioned in the film, but like when did you kind of solidify that as the name, and where did that come from?
We talked to me and the writers talked about this a lot, and it's not really touched on in the movie. But I like the thought of when people read about it, they'll hear about it. But our kind of idea, like, sure, if you were to look it up online, the definition is just like a millennial. But our definition while we were making this was kind of like a derogatory term for a millennial who has a degree and can't get a job. And we loved that kind of being the title when it was really about these kids kind of flipping that on the head and finding a way out. So
yeah, that is a really great title for this story. So it's hats off for finding that. I actually didn't even know that that's the definition, so I probably should have looked that up before this interview.
Yeah.
And so the film comes out this Friday, and it sounds like you're doing as much promotion as you can. But I guess what's promoting it been like, and especially in this kind of, I imagine that you're fighting for eyes with everything going on in the world. So what's it been like promoting, and how has that process been?
Yeah, it's been fun, man. This has really been, obviously, since it's my first feature, it's kind of been the first big kind of press push, but I've really enjoyed it. And obviously the election kind of took the spotlight last week, which it should have, and I'm glad that it did. But oh, sorry, did I lose you? Oh, there you are. But yeah, I'm hyped about it, man. I feel like for some reason content's quality has gone down, and I'm just happy to like be able to bring something fresh into this, like just this new world that we have of like we accept crap quality just because like we don't know when the next good thing's going to come out, and so I'm so happy that like this film that I know is fantastic, everyone's going to get to see it during quarantine, which I think people need, so I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I think people are definitely hoping for more content. I feel like what it's really done is, and this is a perfect example, is kind of allow these indie films to come out on equal footing with some of the bigger releases, because there really aren't that many in theaters, so everyone kind of comes out the same way.
If this hadn't happened, if COVID hadn't happened, I mean, I would have been going against James Bond, Dune, Wonder Woman, The French Dispatch. Like, I wouldn't have had a chance, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's cool that like this is kind of giving these indie filmmakers this time to shine. So
that's awesome. So I have a couple quick questions. I call this the lightning round. It's just kind of short questions based on the film or the characters. I couldn't come up with a ton on this one because I try to keep them answerable. I didn't want to like ask some of the questions related to these characters of you.
Yeah.
So the first one is, you can choose not to answer if you don't want to. I'm perfectly fine with it.
Sure.
What is the most expensive thing you have accidentally or unintentionally destroyed?
Personally or character or during the movie?
Let's go with personally. We could do both. Yeah.
I dropped someone's 5D Mark IV one time and it broke, and I felt like the worst person in the world.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What about in the film? What was the most expensive thing that they destroyed?
I think it was that piano.
Oh
That
yeah,
piano that they destroyed was a pretty nice one.
yeah. That was a scene. Just kind of seeing the keys just kind of
And it kind
crack
of,
out.
yeah, and we loved sound designing that because it was just such a heavy sound design thing. It was just kind of cool.
Did you use any of the sound from the actual destruction, or was
We
it a
did.
combination? Okay.
It was a combination, and then you take those and just kind of warp it and kind of have fun with them.
That must have been a lot of fun, and also probably
Yeah.
very kind of must have been difficult to kind of get the right balance of like what you expect it to sound like versus what it actually sounded like. That must have been tough to do.
Yeah, totally. And what was funny was Gillis Geary was the actor that was destroying it, and his brother's a pianist.
Oh
So that's
wow.
beautifully ironic.
um, so one of the other things that was really fun about this film is kind of seeing the cast celebrate after a big score. So I guess what do you normally do to celebrate, or what's the plan for the launch of this film? How are you going to celebrate the launch of this film? Because that seems like the most kind of appropriate big score that's going to be
Yeah,
happening soon.
yeah. I feel like the biggest thing is like I just want to see my friends see the movie. That's really like you like this one took 7 years to make, and I'm sure that my friends are absolutely sick of hearing about me making this movie. So like I'm just happy that to have a beer with them after they see it and like hear what they have to say about it.
That'll be fun. And the
Yeah.
last question is, where do you live, and when are you going on vacation next? Just curious. Just curious.
Yeah, so yeah, I live in Chicago, and I'm trying not to do any vacations. Like I'm ready for the next one.
I was
So
completely joking on that
oh
one. The film's coming out on Friday. I imagine you're gonna kind of bask in the glory, but what is next for you? It sounds like maybe this will be a springboard to some other projects that you've got going on.
yeah, I'm really looking for the next one right now. I've been writing a lot, and I think I got some good ones that are about to take off, and I think one of them could potentially be a franchise that I can't talk too much about. But I think I got something. I think I got a few in the works that are going to be absolutely amazing. So
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see how this movie does, and I can't wait to see what comes next. So
thanks,
awesome.
thanks, David.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you
Well,
for your
cool, man.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anytime, man. I really enjoyed this interview.
Yeah, this is awesome. So yeah, the movie comes out on Friday. Check it out. You can check it out in theaters. You can check it out digitally if you don't want to leave your home. If you go to the theaters, make sure to set your alarm and leave some lights on just to make sure. And the movie is Echo Boomers, and this is Seth Savoy. Thank you so much.
Thanks, David.
Take care. Bye. That was Seth Savoy, the director and co-writer of Echo Boomers. Echo Boomers is available in theaters, digitally, and on demand on November 13th. So you can go check it out in theaters if you want, but make sure to set your alarm before you go. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot to make sure all my new videos go straight to you. And as always, please go to watchyourpast.com for all your movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Thank you.